Hi guys, Dave from Firearms-uk here, and this video is another attempt at the video on my homemade magazine project. Now, with a few complaints about the audio quality, and rightly so, it was terrible. It was just the equipment I was using at the time. I couldn't get it to work properly with microphones, etc. So hopefully we've rectified that. It's interesting as well that the last time I've done this video is partly to highlight another attack on shooting sports. And again, while I'm redoing it, there's also an attack on shooting sports from YouTube. And unfortunately, we've not been banned by YouTube yet, which must mean we don't get that many views. So hopefully we can change that, and fingers crossed we can join the club and get kicked off YouTube. And just on that subject, YouTube's attack on shooting channels is frankly, in my opinion, it's a modern day book burning. It's just a way to try and ostracise and vilify the shooting community and take away a voice that for many years we never had, because the mainstream media would always be poisonous against us, and social media and YouTube gave us as a community a way to show off our sports, our interests, our arguments, get some facts out there that weren't always going to be presented elsewhere. And it's a very frightening thing what they're doing, but that's for another video. Anyway, if you don't know the backstory, basically I purchased this Remington 700 second hand. It's a fantastic rifle, it shoots really well, no issues with that whatsoever. However, the magazines that I got with the rifle, which had been converted to take a AI magazine, were terrible. Every single magazine failed to function properly, and basically what was happening was you would load up, try and load a round into the chamber, and the round would either pop up prematurely and the bullet would get pushed into the brass casing, or in some cases you were jamming the bolt against the casing and denting it. And I just thought it's pretty dangerous, not ideal, and basically it just, you couldn't shoot the rifle, you had to load it single shots. It was terrible. So I looked at sourcing replacements, and they were quite expensive, so I thought, it'd be quite fun to try and manufacture a magazine. I'm sure it can't be that difficult to do. And part of that was, again, just the cost saving exercise in terms of, saving a bit of money, and the fun factor, seeing if I could do it, but also to highlight that at the time the European Commission were trying to bring in restrictions on gun owners within Europe. And it was in the aftermath of some terrorist attacks in France mainly, I believe, but perhaps elsewhere, in which these terrorists used illegally obtained fully automatic rifles that weren't stolen from legal gun owners. But as usual, the authorities decided to abuse this incident and abuse public fear and ignorance to go after gun owners. And it's really starting to bother me now, because are they that impotent that all they can do is attack one of the most law-abiding sections of society, or is there another agenda at play here, and they just exploit these tragedies to further that agenda? Shooters worldwide need to get switched onto this, because the attacks are relentless and they don't go anywhere. And as I say, every time I do a video, there's something else that's happened, or someone else out to get us. So anyway, basically, moving forward to talk about the manufacturer. My first attempt was pretty much a like-for-like copy of the original magazine in terms of dimensions, although the originals are made, I think, of some kind of ABS plastic. My attempt is made out of 3mm sheet aluminium, and it's made in two halves, and it's welded down the front here and down the back, and on the back I've built up a little blob of weld and then just shaped it into a little notch to suit the magazine catch. The internals of the magazine are all the original AI parts, so it's the spring, follower, etc. It was absolutely fine. I think actually what the problem was, they've probably been extensively used, and there was just wear on the feed lips at the top, and it was just allowing the round to pop out. Unfortunately, with this type of plastic, there's not really much I could do with it in terms of trying to reshape it. So anyway, the base plate is 1mm aluminium. And initially I thought I might have a few issues with trying to secure that, because in the original magazines it's secured on a little flange, and with a a dimple, so you can see the flange there, and it just slides on, and there's a dimple in the base plate of the magazine spring which locks in. However, because the magazine itself actually tapers, so it's narrower at the front and at the back, when you slide the base plate on, it actually locks in, and the spring tension's not enough to overcome that. So, you know, it was a happy accident, but worked quite well, made it straightforward to manufacture. So the AI magazines are a 10 round capacity. I was hoping to achieve the same capacity with my magazine. I can get 10, even 11 rounds in it. However, first attempt, you know, it's not perfect. I think I've made a mistake in shaping the feed lips. I rounded them when I was shaping them rather than pushing them in flat. So I think what happens is occasionally, more so when you get 10 rounds in it, the round would just sit like that and not come up properly. However, I've got 8 rounds in it just now, and 8 seems to be a fairly good figure in terms of it working. I'm quite happy with it. You know, it's a first attempt. Yeah, brilliant, it works. The original magazines wouldn't work at all. You could maybe put 2 or 3 rounds in it, and the spring tension wasn't that high that, you know, it wouldn't push the round out over the feed lips. But, you know, you'd be sort of just get a standard rifle then if you really want to shoot 2 or 3 rounds. But so the 8 rounds, yeah, I'm happy with that. So I'll just load up and we'll cycle a few rounds through it, and we'll go on to the next project. I will point out, by the way, guys, the firing pin has been removed from the rifle, so, you know, safety first. So anyway, that's us, 8 rounds. That's us, guys. Rounds flying everywhere. But yeah, so I'm happy with that. It works pretty well. But the next part of the project was, I thought, in light of these EU restrictions, and again, terrorists obtained fully automatic rifles smuggled into France illegally. So if they can smuggle rifles in, they can smuggle magazines in. But the point was, one of the European Commission's restrictions, or proposed restrictions, which I believe has been implemented, unfortunately, was a restriction in magazine capacity. Now, they keep using this term high capacity magazines. For many firearms, this is a standard capacity magazine, but again, it's all part of the wordplay and the propaganda into scaring people, into, you know, supporting their actions. And I'm always on it, the public, educate yourself about this, because you're being misled in a lot of things. But the point was, I'm going to try and make a so-called high capacity magazine, just to show that if they can obtain the firearms illegally, but somehow they couldn't get the magazines, it doesn't take a genius to manufacture one of these. To make this, it required all legally available components, secondary school level knowledge of metalworks, or high school, whatever, if you're in the US. No, it's not difficult at all. There's a few teething problems. The hardest part was making a spring, which I'll go into. But basically, you know, it's a metal box. And again, my intent was to try and double the capacity, so it's roughly double in size of my first attempt. So basically just extending the dimensions. This one does function a little better. I think I learned my lesson with the feed lips, so they're straight and it just allows the round to feed straight up. They are double stacked single feed magazines, by the way. This one's made out of 2mm thick aluminium, which is why I've had to weld it, or actually I glued it, a little metal strip along the front just to thicken it out, just to hold it in place, because the wedge at the back wouldn't catch. The base plate is held on, because it's a bigger spring, and there's more tension in it. It would keep slipping off, the taper wouldn't hold it, so it's held on with 2 pins, a little pin at the front, a pin at the back. The spring itself, as I say, was the most challenging part. I had to make that out of, it was an old spring out of an old drilling machine, a coil spring. So the process was, I would heat that up till it was red hot and let it cool in a process called normalising. Then you would straighten it out, cut it to size, and then essentially I just bent it in a zigzag shape up and down the length of the magazine to suit. And the hard part is really hardening it and tempering it to get the spring back into it. hardening's easy, just make it red hot and then you quench it in oil or water. That's fine, but it's incredibly brittle. So the next stage is tempering, which is a process where you heat it to a specific temperature and you quench it at that temperature. But because of the equipment I was using, I couldn't get a consistent heat over the whole spring at the same time. So my first attempt actually worked quite well. I must have got lucky, but I was trying to perfect it, and then I took the temper out of it. It was brittle and it snapped. So it then took me about 3 or 4 attempts to get one to work, and it's not perfect. So my first spring, I think I managed to get about 18 rounds in it. However, with this one, I've had it up to about 15, but I believe I've got 12 in it just now. And it's not easy to load, guys. It needs perfected. You actually need to sometimes, because the spring's a little bit wider than it should be, you get a pen or something and have to jam it down to push the spring down because it sticks. So not perfect, but well, if I was willing to spend a bit more on equipment, you could knock these out very easily. In fact, I think this might be a first. I don't know if AI do magazines with a capacity greater than 10, so it might be a first, but overall I'm happy with it. I've learned a few lessons from the first one. It does feed a little better. The first couple of rounds are a bit tight though, I must admit. I think it still just rubs against the bolt slightly, but overall I'm happy with it. It was fun to do, it was a learning curve, and I think it proves the point that with a little bit of time, a little bit of effort, bad people could flout meaningless laws because it's only the law-abiding people that obey them in the first place. And the politicians and commissions and etc. should really focus on the bad people and actually bring in laws that are going to tackle them. And if they're not going to do that, the public needs to hold them to account and make sure they do, rather than tackling people that aren't the problem. So anyway, I'll load up. So that's, I think, as I say, 12 rounds. Yep, so 12 rounds, guys. So there you have it. I hope this was interesting. As always, please leave a comment if you've got any questions. Comment below, or probably better contact us on our Facebook page or Twitter. So yeah, please share this everywhere, guys, and let me know what you think. See you all soon. Cheers.